key to personal development. And before we analyze the relation between philosophy and personal development, we first need to examine the history of the word philosophy and redefine the meaning, because I feel the word nowadays has changed throughout the centuries, and it seems to be something uninvited or difficult to grasp for the general public, and even more complex to converse about. So I think there's a need to redefine the word philosophy in 2016, and there is a need to rebrand the connotations that come with the word philosophy. That can be appealing to the younger generation, but without, of course, lose the significance and the sophistication of the word. So by looking back in time, the earliest signs of philosophy were found in Thales of Miletus in 600 BCE in Greece. Thales of Miletus is the first person known for practicing philosophy, although the actual word was invented years later by Pythagoras of Samos around 550 BCE. Pythagoras was the first man in the world to call himself a philosopher in order to ascribe the meaning of the lover for wisdom. In Greek, the word philosophia consists of two words, the word philo, which means dear or friend, and the word sophia, which means wisdom. So based on this original meaning, we realize that philosophy in its authentic form, it's more an activity rather than a scientific field of research that it is known today. Moreover, if a person loves to learn and develop himself, is therefore called a philosopher, isn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong, but is there another purpose of philosophy other than to help us develop ourselves and increase the quality of our lives? That brings me to the realization that we have been using philosophy only to the benefit of those who actually choose the philosophy as a field of expertise. I would argue that everyone needs to study philosophy, and that should be part of the primary and secondary school if we were to disrupt the educational system and enlighten the next generation. Having said that, we need also to differentiate the academic philosophy from the activity of philosophy, because they have different purposes, I believe. So academic philosophy's purpose is to change the humankind and push boundaries to improve the future of humanity as a whole. Whereas the purpose of the activity of philosophy is to develop self-awareness, self-management, self-love, and also contribute to the development of the human being. So let me explain here what I mean by that. Philosophy has always been the process of revealing truth and discovering the authentic cause of the matter. So by asking the right questions and with logical arguments, all philosophers throughout history have come to discover universal truths about cosmos and humans and humankind, that they were true today as they were thousands of years ago as well. So now one of the biggest problems that we face in 2016, among others, I think, is what I call the stupidity of the masses. And I use a harsh word on purpose so that we can cause pain or maybe shock a little, so we'll be able hopefully to avoid it in the future. The stupidity of the masses have always been around in the world, but now it shows up more than ever before because we live in the age of information. So in practical terms, it means that everyone, no matter the educational background or the knowledge that they have acquired, have a voice and an audience to express their thoughts and feelings. Because we now have the internet, social media, blogs, so it is obvious to me, at least, that there is more noise in the world rather than voice. And that is due to the lack of authentic personalities in people. So not a very surprising fact, of course, if we take into consideration the way that the educational system is designed today. It is designed in such a way that we grow up to be one predictable type of person, forgetting completely the fact that we're human beings with absolute unique personalities, minds, and spirits. Not to mention the unique role that we all have to execute here. So someone would possibly ask, how did we end up raising uninspired and average generations? Philosophers claim that it has always been this way, but it now shows up in transparency in all matters of life, the lots of information that's available. However, when we can identify the issue, we can also address it and hopefully solve it. So the internet brings up an issue that has always been there, but now it shows up in terms of the consequences that come with it. So let's examine what could be the solution. So first things first, we need to define what is authenticity. So what is authenticity in a human being? Martha Graham describes it as a vitality, a life force, an energy or quickening that is translated through you into action. And there's only one of you in all time. So this expression is unique, and if you block it, it will never exist through any other medium, and it will be lost. How does that make you feel? I mean, apparently there is an energetic field inside your being that is one of a kind in the history of the world. Have you ever thought of yourself in that way? So the responsibility to identify the authentic energy or expression, develop it to maximum, and then share it with the world. That is the only way we can all contribute to making this a better place. So the responsibility I'm talking about here, Aristotle named it endelche. He came to the conclusion that nature operates in teleological terms. This means that all beings tend to realize their purpose through living. So every living thing is alive to execute their role in life's ecosystem. So it is the same for animals, for trees, and human beings are not excluded. It is called the Aristotelian endelche, meaning that throughout the life of every living thing, the living thing is moving towards self-actualization. Therefore, the vindication of its existence. So how beautiful is that, to know that we're all a work in progress, and as long as we live, we have something to work towards too, the best version of ourselves. To explain this theory, Aristotle gave the example of a statue. At first, it's just a piece of marble with the potential to turn into being. But thanks to the energy put into processing the marble, as well as the actual form that the sculptor decided to give to the marble, the potential raw marble acquired endelche, so meaning a complete form, since it turned from a raw marble to actual statue now. The philosophical question that occurs now is this: regarding humankind, how do we get from birth, or raw material, raw potential, into finding our unique expression and get into the ideal form that we aspire to be? Education is the answer, of course. I love the definition of an educated man from Napoleon Hill. He said, an educated man is not necessarily one who has an abundance of general or specialized knowledge. An educated man is someone that has developed the faculties of his mind so much that he can acquire anything he wants, or its equivalent, without violating the rights of others. Education is not just to understand or master an academic or professional field. For example, let's say someone is a lawyer. Is he really educated if he has all the qualifications and skills of a lawyer but has no idea how the mind works? Would it help a lawyer to learn about the mind faculties and how they operate? Or another example, do you think a doctor is considered to be educated if he doesn't make ethical decisions in his professional or personal environment? I would argue no, because that's not education. Aristotle stated that educating the mind without educating the heart is not education at all. So the next question arising is, why does our educational system teach us about general or specialized knowledge, when what we really need to walk through life is to develop the mind faculties to help us create the best version of ourselves? And it makes sense if you think about it, because the human mind is only about 3,000 years old. And it is trained up to now to help us survive. So our mind is very well trained to help us survive, but it doesn't do a very good job when it comes to happiness. Because if we let our mind be in charge of our happiness, we'll never find happiness. I have found in my life again and again that if I want to learn or master a particular area in my life, I want to study the best in the field and model their behavior until it becomes my own. I do that for simple things as well as more complicated. So as we talk about education today, I think there isn't a better best practice scenario other than Alexander the Great and Aristotle. Aristotle. So Plutarch describes on his writings the education that Alexander the Great received from his tutor Aristotle. He says, "It was Aristotle, I believe, who did more than anyone to implant in Alexander his interest in the art of healing, as well as that of philosophy. The subject that Aristotle taught the young man included ethics, politics, medicine, natural philosophy, and unstated esoteric knowledge, which may have been metaphysics. There is, however, one specific realm in which Aristotle may have played a pivotal role in Alexander's development, the study of epic poetry. Aristotle imparted a deeper understanding of Homeric poetry into the young ambitious prince. He allegedly gave Alexander a copy of the Iliad, which Alexander kept with him throughout the campaigns in Asia. According to historian Robin Leigh Fox, and it's only through those Homeric themes that Alexander's personality came to life. So if Fox is right, Aristotle's teaching may have influenced Alexander's later career to much greater extent than is typically believed. A quote on education by Socrates made an impression on me. He said, "No citizen has a right to be an amateur in the matter of physical training. What a disgrace it is for a man to grow old without ever seeing the beauty and strength of which his body is capable of." If the goal is to discover what we're capable of, they're not shortcuts. Let's be honest. I mean, cultivating the mind only is not enough. There has to be a holistic combination of the spirit, mind, and body. We have got to engage in a lifelong learning experience. We have got to commit to a lifelong journey that begins with self-awareness, self-love, to continue with self-mastery and self-development. Personally, through studying and doing philosophy, I was able to develop myself for a particular personal philosophy that helps me achieve my ambitions. There is no right or wrong way to live, but everyone should determine what is right and wrong for themselves to live fully and experience fulfillment. The single most repeated philosophical quote in history has been by Socrates when he said, "An unexamined life is not worth living." The future educational system should be designed around this very insightful thought, I believe. It is vital to examine all aspects of one's life to find out whether the set of beliefs are aligned with the ambitions of the individual. So when I work with people, for my business, I always say that the best way to foresee the future is to examine carefully your deepest beliefs and values. Your belief system will show you precisely where you're heading at. Study your belief system meticulously to understand whether you're on the way to your dreams.